Hey everyone, today I want to talk about how you can make your D&D encounters more exciting through the use of movement. If you watch an action movie, the battles are not just heroes standing around slashing at enemies. What makes these scenes interesting is that each character is constantly moving around in an attempt to gain an advantage. And every time someone moves, the strategy has to change. The more it changes, the longer the scene can go on without the audience losing interest. Let's go through a few things that can give your encounters the same level of excitement. Most of the tips I'm going to mention are from pages 56 and 57 of the 4th edition Dungeon Master's Guide 2, but these tips are useful for any role-playing game. I'll put a link down in the description if you want to get a copy of this book for yourself. The first thing to look at is the location itself. The characteristics of the battle map need to entice the players to move around. There are a few things that you should consider here. Perhaps the most important trait of your location is the scale. Make sure that you're not cramming everything into a space where there simply is no room to move. This can be interesting in itself at times, but in most cases you want to make sure the location is big enough where everyone feels they have options for where they can go. A good rule of thumb that I use is to aim for about 10 grid squares for every creature. So an encounter location with 100 squares would be good for about 10 creatures. It's perfectly fine to squeeze in a few more creatures or to make the location a little smaller if you want, as long as everybody feels like they have room to move around. Now, obviously, a big open space is not terribly interesting, so the first thing you might want to do is split it up. A big obstacle in the middle can be a great way to give the party some cover while they look around before they engage with the enemy. I'll talk a little more about that later on. One suggestion from the book is to create what they call circular paths. These are passages within the location that allow a character to move into a more advantageous position. Next, be sure to have some spots where the rogues in the group can set up their sneak attacks or the wizards can duck out of the way. But don't go too crazy with this, or you might find that the location becomes an impassable labyrinth, which kind of defeats the purpose. And definitely include some elements that are dangerous. It can be something as simple as difficult terrain like a pool of water, or as serious as a bottomless pit that could kill the party if they're not careful. Either way, it's something that requires the players to make a decision. By the way, if you want free digital versions of the maps I'm using in this video, check out the link to my newsletter down in the description. Next, you'll want to consider points of interest. What could I put in this location that could draw the party to a specific area? Is there a treasure chest in that alcove? Is there a magic item on the other side of that passage? Is there a prisoner hanging over the edge of the pit? Whatever it is, these things give the party additional objectives during the encounter that can keep things exciting. The more things you have for the party to interact with, the more likely it is that they will move around in order to check those things out. So don't be shy about including a lot of shiny objects for the characters to seek out. Most of them might be nothing more than cool trinkets, but as long as a few of them are items of value, the party will quickly learn that moving to them during the encounter can be important. I cover some of this a little more in a prior video, so I'll put that link down in the description. Next, you'll want to hold off on starting the encounter until the time is right. Resist the urge to roll for initiative as soon as the party enters the room. Be patient and give the players a chance to investigate the location and come up with a plan. Some of the best encounters are when the party has the time to survey the area and discuss their strategy. Make sure that you're giving them that opportunity. And finally, one of my favorite tools to encourage movement is to lead by example. If you want the players to move their characters around, then do the same with the enemies. Don't worry too much about giving up opportunity attacks. Make sure the monsters are moving in and out of cover. The enemy should be using those circular paths and the difficult terrain. If there are items of interest, then maybe have the enemies grab them before the players do and move them around during the encounter. A treasure chest is interesting in itself, but a treasure chest that the monsters are protecting and moving is even more enticing. The players will move either because they have to in order to track the enemies, or because seeing the enemies moving around will give them ideas of their own. Either way, all of this movement will keep the encounter exciting for many rounds and make it one to remember. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments your tips for creating great encounters. Until next time, take care.